A new study suggests Facebook's ad delivery algorithm may discriminate based on gender and race. According to The Intercept, the study says that different ads go to different people based on their characteristics.
Joining us now is technology reporter for The Intercept, Sam Biddle. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
So, Sam, there are two basic steps, as I understand it, to advertising on Facebook. The first is when advertisers ask to target a specific population. The second is the process of what's called ad delivery, when researchers create ads without a specific target. And this is where the study, which we should note is in the process of being peer-reviewed, which is kind of interesting that it hasn't been peer-reviewed, discovers evidence of discrimination. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so that's totally right. Ads are typically targeted to men over 40 in Connecticut, women under 30 in California who like soccer, that sort of thing.
Right.
What this study did was let's take away all that targeting and just let the chips fall where Facebook puts them. Where do ads appear? Who sees ads when they aren't specifically targeted to a demographic? And what the study found was it falls very evenly along pretty regressive stereotypes about race and gender and that sort of thing.
So give me an example.
So some of the more galling examples were the team of researchers ran a series of housing ads, houses for sale. Pretty important thing, who sees a house for sale, who has an opportunity to become a homeowner. 75% of those were shown to white Facebook users automatically without the advertiser requesting that targeting, which would be illegal to request that, but Facebook did it on its own.
And when it comes to housing and much like other things, loans, there are specific laws protecting people from this sort of discrimination, which is why the Department of Housing and Urban Development is investigating these ads, right?
Exactly, and that kind of investigation is sort of aimed at, well, what if there were a racist landlord or a realtor who had racist racial bias? This is showing that even in the absence of a bigoted landlord, the Facebook algorithm itself is biased, or appears to be, based on this study, we should say.
So I'm going to presume when it comes to advertising, there's probably two different price points. I mean, this is part of their business model. If they can't do this, does this affect their business model to a significant degree?
It shouldn't. You should be able to run an advertising business that isn't inherently sexist and racist. I would.
You would think, but the times being what they are, and I guess that we talk about it in terms of the algorithm, but who created the algorithm?
People.
Who is who is the Wizard of Oz? And so, is that because there's a lack of women and minorities creating these algorithms, and the perspective is skewed towards people who come from privileged, moneyed backgrounds and who go to elite universities, and they're the ones creating it?
That would certainly be one good explanation. I think if you go inside Facebook and you look at the team of people who work on algorithms like this, they tend to look like Mark Zuckerberg. They tend to have a lot more in common with Mark Zuckerberg than some of the people who were discriminated against, in hypothetically in this.
Like DeRay McKesson. They don't look like DeRay McKesson.
Yes.
They look more like Mark Zuckerberg.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do stories like this every single day, but people still log on to Facebook, right? I mean, no one's giving it up. So NBC released a new poll today. Here's the outcome of part of the outcome of the poll. 6 in 10 Americans say that they do not trust Facebook, but they can't stop using it. 69% of those surveyed say they use it at least once a day. It seems to be a little contradictory. Why are we logging in to a platform that we say we don't trust?
How many people who think climate change is a very big problem are driving every day? I think that things get ingrained in our habits. They become habitual. They become just part of our daily routine. It's very hard to break. And honestly, that is what Facebook is counting on. These have become habits that even if our consciousness tells us that there's something wrong here, we wake up, we look at our phone, and there's Facebook.
But I will still never, I know, Anne-Marie, you sort of scold me on this, but I will still never understand why people and when people started to look to Facebook for news and information. I've always, and still too, and that's why I always tell you my feed doesn't look like a lot of other people's feeds. My feed is still friends with babies and like bachelor parties.
That sounds much better.
Yeah, right, because I don't ever click on anything. I rarely even post stories that I report on into Facebook, because I just don't find it as a platform for news delivery. But I'm obviously a minority because everybody does.
Also, let me say this: that Vlad says that because he's really not a Facebook person, but he is a Twitter person. And every day we talk about Facebook, but it's not the only social media platform that's coming into problems. But for some reason, it seems to be kind of the poster boy for this.
We definitely should not assume that Facebook is the only large online advertising business with a bias problem. Google's ad business is enormous. Twitter's is smaller, but still substantial. they should be looked at with the same level of scrutiny as Facebook.
Another result of the poll, people are twice as likely to distrust Facebook as they are to the other social media apps. But they're still growing. They're still adding people. This is not going to affect the number of users that they are adding.
Everything that's happened with Facebook over the past year has done very little to harm their stock price has taken a hit, but in terms of their general robustness, the strength of the business, it's looked at more as a speed bump than a serious crisis for the company's
My
future.
concern is that, that as they add users in other countries, for example, in Burma and in places where the restrictions on free speech are not the same as you would expect, or there are extensive restrictions on free speech.
And where the political divisions really could mean life or death.
Life or death. That's the real concern I have as a reporter, that Facebook is not even paying attention to what's going on here in the U.S., much less what's happening in Myanmar.
At a certain point, the ability of academics and reporters to get results from Facebook, I think, might reach a limit, and I think it becomes time for maybe Congress to step in. I think there's some answers that only Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg can answer, so the more opportunities we have to hear them speak under oath, to discuss and answer questions exactly like that one, concerns exactly like those, I think all the better for the public.
Speaking of that, Sam, before we let you go, has Facebook responded to this?
Yes, they provided a response that was, you can read it on my article on The Intercept, but it's generally along the lines of, we recognize this is a problem, we're trying to do better. It's essentially the same response they give.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you note any difference in the responses that they've given to all the other issues that you've covered and that we've covered regarding Facebook?
Literally none.
Mark Zuckerberg should just make up cards and just hand them out.
Just hold up a sign.
We're working hard, sorry.
It's just like, it's more like he shakes it and he offers you one, right? It's the same one. Sam Biddle, always great to have you, my friend. Thank you very much. Great reporting.